India has a mindset where it hits, it punches below its weight. We have to punch not above our weight. We have to punch not below our weight. We have to increase our weight and punch the post.
ये हमारा सिद्धांत है, हम घर में घुस के मारेंगे.
You know, victims of terrorism do not sit together with perpetrators of terrorism to discuss terrorism.
नमस्कार, जय हिंद, जय भारत and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi. हमारे साथ हैं Marshal, Bedi, and trust you me guys, by the comments I know you guys are looking forward for this session. Thank you so much, sir. Namaskar, welcome to the show once again.
Namaskar Aadi, always a pleasure to be in conversation with you. Thank you.
आपने पिछली बारी जो हमारे फंडे क्लियर करे थे about basics of air combat, I can't forget that because that created a lot of confidence amongst many people. बहुत लोगों को एक confidence आया कि हाँ यार, we are not asking the right questions. तो thank you for that. Sir, आज मैं आपसे पहले I want to ask you, Operation Sindoor हो गया है, and उसके बारे में बात करेंगे. I will ask you some questions about Sindoor as well. But पाकिस्तान को अभी चाइना बोल रहा है कि भाई हाँ वी विल गिव यू अ 5th जनरेशन स्टेल्थ J35 फाइटर एयरक्राफ्ट, और वो J31 F35 पता नहीं, इवन न्यूज़ रिपोर्ट सीम्स टू बी कंफ्यूज्ड. इन एनी केस, लेट्स कंसीडर इट एज अ 5th जन एयरक्राफ्ट दैट पाकिस्तान को मिलेगा. पहले तो इसका सिग्निफिकेंस क्या है, दूसरा डज इट रियली वर्क, आई मीन इन दिस सिनेरियो, क्या उसका है, बिकॉज पाकिस्तान के पास कोई इतनी डेप्थ डुप तो है नहीं. What is this for? Is it more of a propaganda thing? क्या है? And does Pakistan have the ground systems to actually have that capability?
See, यहीं से अगर शुरू करते हैं तो J35, एक्सपोर्ट वर्जन है FC31 का, स्टेल्थ एयरक्राफ्ट है. एंड इक्विवेलेंट टू, अगर किसी को नहीं पता हो कि ये कौन सा एयरक्राफ्ट है प्रोफेशनल को, तो F35 या J35 में आप फर्क नहीं बता सकोगे. बोथ लुक ऑलमोस्ट द सेम. Now it's okay to say कि भाई अगर stealth features हैं और वो characteristics हैं aircraft के, तो both aircraft with same characteristics will look something similar. Okay, that's a given. Okay, it's a stealth aircraft. It has features of stealth through radar absorbent material, और जैसे configure करते हैं aircraft को, soft corners, internal bays, etc. etc. ठीक है. पर जो आपका क्वेश्चन है कि operational viability क्या है इसकी, कि स्टेल्थ क्यों इंडिया पाकिस्तान कॉन्टेक्स्ट में क्यों. आई लुक एट इट दिस वे कि आफ्टर ऑल कैपेबिलिटी इज कैपेबिलिटी. ओके, यू कैन नॉट डिनाई इट दैट इफ F35 or J35 comes, it comes with advanced weaponry as well. Okay, now they are saying it will carry PL-17 missile probably, with 400 kilometers of range. Okay, which is worrisome. अब अगर हम ऑप्शन दूर की बात करेंगे बाद में, और थोड़ा सा समझने की जरूरत है कि हाउ डज कॉम्बैट प्ले आउट. व्हाट वी हैव बीन हैविंग एंड व्हाट एक्चुअल सिनेरियोस में प्ले आउट इज एंटायरली डिफरेंट. नाउ व्हाट इज द रोल ऑफ अ स्टेल्थ एयरक्राफ्ट? इट्स लो ऑब्जर्वेबल. लाइक वी डोंट से कि भाई बिल्कुल ही या स्टेल्थ के कभी नहीं दिखेगा आपको, या you will never see it. It is low observable in certain configuration, in certain maneuverability, in certain platform it may be visible, but that is momentarily. Now if you see India Pakistan context, we say कि okay भाई, अगर आपके पास 400 किलोमीटर रेंज की मिसाइल है, तो अगर आप दिख भी गए तो क्या फर्क पड़ता है. दिस इज व्हाट योर लॉजिक इज, व्हाट यू आर लुकिंग एट, के भी सो व्हाट if you see me, I am at 400 kilometers range firing a missile, why should I invest in stealth technology? But remember, the fights or the battles are not going to be always like Op Sindoor. See, Op Sindoor में क्या था, या कि आपके ना बिल्कुल क्लियर डिमार्केशन वाज देयर कि जो भी एयरक्राफ्ट आपको पाकिस्तान के बॉर्डर के उस तरफ दिखता है वो एनिमी है, वर्से वर्सा विद पाकिस्तान. कि जो भी एयरक्राफ्ट आपको इंडियन बॉर्डर की तरफ दिखता है वो एनिमी का है. सो देयर वाज अ क्लियर डिमार्केशन. इन एक्चुअल वॉर दिस इज नॉट गोइंग टू बी द केस. देयर इज गोइंग टू बी मिक्स्ड बैग. You will have mixed aircraft. Your aircraft would have penetrated there, probably their aircraft would have penetrated here. You are going back, you are coming. So any aircraft in full-fledged war which is coming from Pakistan side is not necessarily that of Pakistan, right? And similarly for them, aircraft which is coming from India to Pakistan is not necessarily an enemy aircraft. They well could be your own aircraft returning. What I'm implying is that it is not necessary that your aircraft, just because it has got 400 kilometers range missile, कि वो दुश्मन के जहाज से 400 किलोमीटर दूर रख सकता है अपने आप. Because if I decide to go in, then that range has got no meaning. You know, I take a case, जैसे AVAX हैं या जो भी है, AVAX बोलते थे, that I take a chance कि okay, I will penetrate. So now if I decide to penetrate with 5-6 aircraft, taking some casualties, accepting some casualties, then what does this aircraft do? Then 400 kilometers range missile, I mean, it can't keep shooting, at every aircraft. Then, so then low observability may help in that scenario, or when you are penetrating into enemy territory, you may not have to stay. See, what happens is you have air-to-air missile Aadi, which is a 400 kilometers range. You may not have air to surface launched weapon, which you may be required to launch with those ranges. You may have to get closer. If your targets are deep and you're not always going to strike, let's say, close to border, you may have a deeper target for which you may have to, cross the border, come inside. So then you will need stealth capability at that kind of time. Otherwise, you will always be required to stay off enemies' radar surface-to-air missiles or enemies' air-to-air missiles. But if you have to penetrate, then low observability is a necessity. Okay. Secondly, if we are talking of losses of all these long-range missiles, if we talk of our meteors, or we talk of Astra 2 tomorrow, or we are talking of this PL-15, etc., how do they work? They are radar guided. They are active missiles, right? You launch them from a very far off range. Some other aircraft, does a mid-course correction guidance, and ultimately it opens up its own radar to home on to the target. Now, if it opens up its own radar, it needs to see something like that. Okay, where is it going? You may have seen the stealth aircraft at one point of time and launched your missile. Okay. But now, if the missile opens up radar, because its missile's radar is functioning exactly on the same principles as any radar functions, right? And if this aircraft is low observable and is, can't be seen by radar, and missile has a very little time to act, it has to acquire the aircraft very, very quickly. And if it is not able to do so, then probably it will create problem. Now, I am not at all saying you cannot, overcome these limitations. Yes, you will make your own tactics. You will do things what are required to be done, but you can't completely discount it off. Why I am saying so? Because when we are looking at our programs, when we are looking at our MCA, there is a necessity that we must speed up our own capability into this, into acquiring stealth capability. And if we set up a narrative saying कि भाई stealth का कोई मतलब नहीं है, stealth की कोई requirement नहीं है, then what happens is that just gives a wrong kind of or false confidence or false kind of narration कि ये तो ऐसे ही है यार, stealth की कोई जरूरत नहीं, ये तो दिख जाता है, यहाँ देख गया, वहां देख गया, वो अलग बात है. We are talking of probability. Right? Because ये जो fighters हैं क्यों दिखते हैं stealth fighter? हमने एक पूरा stealth पे episode किया था, which I enjoyed doing, and I think your audience also loved it. पुराने जो stealth होते थे ना, F117 या B2 देख लो, ये सारे subsonic थे. They did not even employ afterburner. They could not maneuver very fast or too much, because they relied heavily on non-detection. But now when you come to modern aircraft, even F-22s or F-35s, they're highly maneuverable. They are employing powerful engines. And, they are going to maneuver, they are versatile aircraft. So because somewhere it came to be known that your survivability totally on stealth is not a go. You will need maneuverability, you will need long range weapons. Now, you see, you're going to launch a double twin pulse motor enabled, let's say PL-15 or Meteor or any missile from a stealth aircraft. It's going to leave a lot of plume. It's going to leave a lot of signature. It will give out. I mean, you can't imagine that stealth aircraft launching a missile in the air now will not be picked up. There are a whole lot of sensors going around. There are these aircraft themselves deploy or employ IRST kind of, electro-optical radars, what we call passive trackers, which do not emit anything, but they are seeing. You have infrared search and track, you have electro-optical tracking systems. So all these are going to see, the aircraft. So it's not a totally, when I said that you will get tactics, against these aircraft, that tomorrow my airborne aircraft is going to be equipped with those sensors which are not dependent on radar, but then you will have to go close. You can't see now in IRS or electro-optical from those ranges. But it is not that you just can't do it. You're making it more difficult for the enemy, and you are acquiring a kind of capability. So J35, if it is being given to Pakistan, and the timeline, if they are realistic, what we get to read, that by August 25 the delivery will come, or 35 to 40 aircraft will come, I don't know. But I'm saying is we need to be conscious of that. We need to speed up. Okay, लेट हो जाएगा, पर कितना लेट हो जाएगा यार? इट्स नॉट दैट यू कांट टेक सोलेस इनटू द फैक्ट कि नहीं, टाइम से नहीं आएंगे. मान के चलो कि ठीक है, वो जब हम चाइना पाकिस्तान नेक्सस की अगर बात करते हैं, तो वी विल कम टू सी कि भाई क्या है ये होल गेम, हाउ. तो यू गॉट टू बी रेडी. आई थिंक देयर इज अ नीड फॉर इंडिया टू स्पीड अप इट्स एमका प्रोग्राम and get this stealth capability if we have to match this threat.
So क्योंकि इसके अंदर एक जो वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट थिंग्स दैट केम आउट, जो अभी तक बैटल एनालिसिस पूरी बाहर नहीं आई है अभी भी, द कैपेबिलिटी ऑफ एनी फाइटर एयरक्राफ्ट इज डिजाइन्ड बाय द वेपन्स इट कैरीज, जैसे आप बता रहे थे. एंड द मोर बेटर वेपन्स आर, तो यू गेट अ सर्टेन एज. सो उसके हिसाब से आई वांट, ये जो J35 का एक बात है, और यहाँ पर लेट्स कनेक्ट सिंदूर अ लिटिल बिट. The kind of weapons अभी तो जो public domain में आ चुका है, the crystal maze, the BrahMos, the saw, and all these things which have come into the public domain, कि ये तो these have come in articles, everybody knows 19 BrahMos were fired, 19 crystal maze, इतना तो हो चुका है अभी. How do we kind of take this game forward? Because the point is, if you have an aircraft like this and you're not going to get a 5th gen fighter एकदम से नहीं आएगा, तो उसको आपको अपनी कैपेबिलिटी को डिफरेंट टैक्टिक में लेके जाना पड़ेगा, वेयर यू आर एबल टू प्ले द गेम अ लिटिल बेटर. वन इज डिटेक्शन, टू इज आल्सो अटैक. हाउ डू यू काइंड ऑफ इसको कैसे बैलेंस करेंगे आप?
नहीं, वो वही, your complete tactics. Now, if the complete battle plays out, like I said, you have a full-fledged war, then the game plan is very different. Okay, and we covered it last time that probably we were more geared up for a full-fledged war, and this sectional war, when you are piecemeal application of air force is involved, then obviously you are always at a little disadvantage, right? But now what happens is, how will it play out? Both offensive and defensive measures will play out. Your air defense will have to be strong. Against these aircraft, because let's face it, they will get these aircraft, but you can't win a complete war with these aircraft. There will be other paraphernalia involved. There will be other aircraft involved. There will be other features which will come into play. So if your air defense is very strong and your offensive capability is strong, take it. Now, what did we do? Option Sindoor mein you targeted their airfields. Okay. Now, if you retain this capability, either by standoff weapons or through superior tactics or through, some means, your good ISR, your good network operations, your electronic warfare capability, your cyber defense, etc., all these systems, when they are played into game, you can't have now this. If I have the capability to attack an airfield and destroy aircraft on ground, one simple capability, then I'm sure you have a great capability, because all these aircraft are not going to be up in the air all the time, and you can destroy aircraft anywhere. So you need to focus on long range vectors, which probably surface to surface vectors. We are talking of BrahMos 2. Now we come to hypersonic missiles on this. Okay. If I develop capability now, tomorrow, if I were to have a hypersonic capability, then I'm really not bothered. 2,000 kilometers in 15 minutes flat, you from detection to addressing target, you just wait for these aircraft to land on ground and you launch your weapons. I'm just kind of, simplifying it for people to understand strategically that how long range accurate weapons help. Ballistic missiles alone will not do, because ballistic missiles were inherently designed for, nuclear kind of tips, so that 600 to 700 meters of accuracy erstwhile was okay. But now, yes, of course, now terminal seekers have started coming in. We know that ballistic missiles have become accurate, but they take long time. They can be intercepted. You would have seen Iran Israel war also. Most of the ballistic missiles get intercepted. I want a missile, a long range vector, which is maneuverable, which goes fast, which can be launched quickly, and it goes where I want it to go, accurately and quickly. So that kind of capability will have to be built if we have to counter such threats effectively in the air or on the ground. I mean, this is how the future will need to play out.
So, this is very interesting. Just a joking question, don't mind it. What the hell did we do? ये रहीम यार खान ने किया क्या है सर? क्या फेंका है सर वहां पर? मेरे को जरा बताओ आप, if you can. Because the damn thing is under no time till 4th of July. सर 10 तारीख को मारा था, 4 जुलाई तक क्या फेंका है सर उसके ऊपर? And even Pakistanis there are watchers, they're all saying that they're not able to repair it. ये करा क्या है सर? आपने बाकी सब एयरफील्ड में मारा, वो ठीक हो गया, ये एक एयरफील्ड.
Yeah, it depends on now. I don't know what is the Rahim Yar Khan की का कैरेक्टर क्या था, ग्राउंड का या रनवे का, या कोई वल्नरेबिलिटी थी. अब ये देखो ना, आप जैसे आपने in a colloquial language बोला. Similarly, if you have a bullet, your pistol, same bullet, you fire at a person, it depends where it hits. One man may be able to recover faster, and another man may take long time to recover because it has hit at a very, very vulnerable place. So what happens is, how many what you call DMIs, that हम उसको बोलते हैं designated mean point of impact, DMPIs, कहाँ हमने लगाई, कितनी लगाई, कितने डैमेज किया, क्या वेपन यूज किए. वेपन्स घूम फिर के वही थे ना, या स्कैल्प हो गई, स्पाइस बॉम्ब हो गए, हैमर हो गए, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा. क्या रूटीन फॉलो हुई है. हाँ. So all these weapons probably were used, and all of them are potent weapons, you see. So it's an anti-airfield weapon anyway. Okay. So now the thing is that all these weapons have proved themselves to be effective, and which is a good thing. So that coming back to my point, that if you have the capability to address these targets in the air or in the ground, and even on the ground, then it is dangerous enough. So you need to develop a deterrent kind of capability. You don't have to pay in the same coin, in the sense that it is not that it is eye for eye kind of thing कि उन्होंने अगर मेरा एयरक्राफ्ट एयर में डिस्ट्रॉय किया तो मेरे को एयर में ही करना है. ऐसा नहीं है. There are other ways to do it. Your idea is to break the nerve of the enemy. How we do this. So that is where we need to look at it.
So and मैं आपसे जो अगला सवाल पूछने वाला हूँ, which is going to be a little controversial, but I'm going to still say it. It's about one CDS. दूसरा, सर, air battles, air power से outcomes don't really come by air power or a single power for that matter. It has to be a combination. तीनों जब घुसते हैं अंदर, तब जाके outcome निकलता है. It's air, sea and the land. तब जाके outcome निकलता है, which is how it is. But sir, as somebody who's probably studied air power also, isn't this one of the first times that there's an outcome out of an air battle that the enemy says, listen, I don't want to fight. Stop. It's an outcome. Whatever you may call it, whatever you can choose a word. I love capitulation. Beautiful word for Pakistan. That one. Second, CDS ke ek jo comment, I found it to be very interesting because it created a rumble around the place. Leaving that aside, he mentioned something: tactics, mistake, correction, and hit back. In simple words, how would you put them into perspective?
See, okay, let's tackle this. Like they say, this is generally elephant in the room. Okay, it appears controversial on the face of it, or it appears a lot of people have talked about it. ये Sindoor ना जब शुरू हुआ, Aadi, everybody was saying just about everything. Okay, जो जिसको पता था. And it was, you must be knowing an old story. It was like those, 5 blind men describing an elephant, depending on which part are they touching. Someone says it's like a tree, someone says it's like a snake, someone says it's like a fan, right? Because they're only looking at it. Now, it depended on who have you heard, which newspaper have you read, which podcast did you hear, etc. So people were making opinions like that. But it needed a little more hard work, in the sense that you may still be a blind man, because all of us, no one has been officially told what happened, right? But yes, you just have to be a blind man who knows that there is more than one feature of it. So you go around the elephant and keep touching the entire elephant till you come to know, connect the dots, and can make out somewhat credible outcome out of that. Now, coming to CDS, we've also been hearing two glaring things. One is, he said, okay, I am suppose you are referring to his interview with the Bloomberg, right? That we made some tactical mistakes. He started with, okay, it's not important to know how many aircraft we lost, but it's important to know how we lost, and we made some tactical mistakes and we corrected it, and then we were successful, right? And also he said it's not important that how many number of aircraft we lost. And if you remember, I go back to Air Marshal Bharti's statement when he said, okay, we do not want to combat losses keep happening. I don't want to count the numbers because I don't want to give undue advantage. We don't want to give undue advantage to the enemy. Now this may be confusing to a little novice mind, that by saying numbers, let's say if one was to say 2, 3, 4, whatever it is, I mean, how exactly enemy gets advantage out of that? Going, in any case, they are saying 5. Okay, that AVM Aurangzeb said that we shot down 5 aircraft. So 5 तो मान के चल ही रहे हैं वो. And if I was to say rather कि भाई नहीं हमारे तो 2 गए हैं या 3 गए हैं, तो how is it giving advantage to enemy? Now let me put it in perspective. Okay, the thing is, why you don't immediately say your losses, even in Gulf War. It's after almost an year that Allied forces or Americans documented that, okay, how many aircraft were lost and where they were lost. Now, you see, one needs to understand, and you will be able to put it in right context, and I will deliberate out and slightly. Take a case that Pakistan or your enemy is claiming certain aircraft, that I shot down these aircraft. Okay, now I go out, I want to be truthful. Okay, I say doesn't matter, we catered for it, because like I said, there is a price for everything. We calculated price. We probably, Air Force or anyone would have gone and briefed the political leadership. Okay, listen, if you don't want us to destroy the air defense, if you don't want us to play out the Air Force the way it's supposed to be played out, you are forcing us to fight with one hand tied behind the back, then there could be losses, and for all they may have cleared it as well. Okay, but the fact is that if I give it out publicly that I lost this aircraft here, would you imagine that enemy gets to know what system worked, what did not work? You get the difference. That now I am in dark, that I fired so many missiles from in this place. I fired HQ9, I fired PL-15, J-10 was there, J-17 was there. Now, which aircraft has shot down which aircraft? Okay, how will you know? Now, I from here want to be very truthful, and why I want to say, okay, doesn't matter, let me tell you how many aircraft I lost. I lost X number of aircraft, one here, one there, one there. I mean, you are giving it in a platter to the enemy. Okay, listen, your this system worked, your this system did not work. You need to look at this, you need to look at this. I mean, is it required? You get my point. If you think from that point of view, you will be convinced that it is not required to be told. You should not really be telling what did you lose where. It's not question that I don't want to be truthful. It's tactically unsound. It is stupid to acknowledge or to say that I lost this where, because I mean, I don't want to labor on this point, but just want to drive home that this was a reason. Okay, now yes,
if I may, sir, before you begin, I'd like to show you a couple of things. Mental light bulb glowing off right now. Yes, this makes sense. So yeah.
Thank you very much. And now when he said we made some tactical mistakes, but we corrected it. Now proof of the pudding is in its eating. If we lost aircraft, which, they said, okay, we lost some aircraft, we lost it only on the first day, right? After that, we did not lose a single aircraft. And we, Air Force, I'm not being gung-ho, but like in your own words, or that they said you hammered the hell out of it. The airfields were pounded, all AD centers, all important targets were taken out without
Some
any loss.
unknown targets
So,
as well, but that's fine. That's
yeah,
all right.
okay. Means whatever we wanted to do, we did. Whatever
We did.
was planned, we did, right? So without any losses, without a single loss. So, like I said, the proof is that, okay, we must have made some mistakes on the first day, but we learned from it and we corrected for it, and thereafter we did not lose any aircraft. So that statement is validated, right? What mistakes did we make? My analysis. Now it has not been told to me. It is just my own connecting dots and reading. Now I think over a period of time we have been preparing for single front war, two front war. There have been exercises where you say that, okay, what will you do if you fight with Pakistan? What will you do if you fight with China? Okay, what if there is a contingency that you have a two front war? And there are different scenarios, that will China and Pakistan join hands and attack India? Unlikely. Will China favor Pakistan, etc., etc.? I think what went missing was the fact that we did not know that we might have to fight China in Pakistan. Now, I will elaborate how. Pakistan is the single most, largest supplier to Pakistan. Okay, given
China
that,
Mhm.
China is. Now, given 63% of its, if you Google, it will tell you that defense equipment comes from China for Pakistan, right? And similarly, about, a similar percentage, it sells only to Pakistan. Now, the thing is, it's okay. There is no harm. I mean, if Pakistan does not make aircraft of its own, it has to buy from somewhere. What do? We also do the same thing, right? We buy from US, we buy from France, we buy from Russia. We are yet to make, a lot of aircraft of our own. So we buy from outside. And it is natural for OEM to support its product. If you have sold some aircraft to someone, you will support it. You will, do anything acceptable. I mean, I'm not at all saying that, China should not have helped Pakistan, but to an extent. What did China do? That it probably, what our calculation was, that China has supplied some weapon to Pakistan, PL-15 for example, that no, it has given export version. It will have about 120, 125 kilometers of range. So probably my tactics that I employed catered for that kind of range. Maybe, and it's a caveat-emptory sentence, maybe I did not cater for that China will get actively involved, and it will help Pakistan not only with OEM support, it will play out Pakistan as its principal force vector and undertake multi-domain kind of operations through Pakistan against India, because this was a golden opportunity for it to try out its J-10s, JF-17s against Western, equipment, and it wanted to prove a point. It not only, it probably helped it in cyber domain, it helped it in ISR. So that is an active support. Like for example, let's say our Rafale, while fighting gets bullet hit or, some this thing, and I need critical support of France to rectify it. I expect that France comes, if I can't rectify, to come and support me. But it is not that now someone comes and sets up data center in India to fight a war, with Pakistan, that just because we have got some aircraft from them. No country did that, right? Once you're sold an equipment, and you're supposed to fight with that. But China helping it with ISR through its geostationary satellite, persistent surveillance, giving Bedu, what do you call access, okay?
I mean,
very, very scientific accuracy.
Excuse me, sir.
Okay.
I'd go a step forward and say AVAX.
Yeah, AVAX. Okay, yeah. So so all this kind of support, when it started coming to and information warfare, AI generated civilian casualties were shown, I believe. Okay, and would you know that very slowly the whole narrative in the international media turned to J10 or J17 versus Rafale. forgetting the basic root cause that there was a terrorist attack somewhere. 26 precious lives were lost in the most heinous manner, against which India retaliated. And that was the whole narrative to start with. But that just got lost and it became J10. How did J10 do? How did PL-17,
How many
PL-15 do?
planes
How
were
did
lost?
Rafale do? How many
many
planes were lost, etc.? I mean, the total narrative. Now, what happens? When you read, okay, I'm very objective man. I say, no, Chinese are telling lies, Pakistans are telling lies. Let me pick up a German newspaper. Let me pick up a US newspaper. The problem is all those media houses are owned by Chinese, are bought by Chinese. So now, if I buy a journalist or who's writing in a German newspaper with that nationality, something you'll think, यार ये तो सच बोल रहा होगा, इसको क्या लेना देना? So the whole information warfare what we are looking at, the whole narrative was manipulated in a manner that it became totally different. This is what when China helped Pakistan in a full-fledged manner is what we probably did not anticipate. So when we played out the first night, we probably I'm saying it's just my analysis of reading into whole thing, did not cater for the kind of ranges of missiles, whether surface to air missile or air to air missile, thinking that people will play by the rule game, but violations do take place. Even when ceasefire happened, Pakistan did violate. Okay,
Yeah.
but I mean, we held on. Okay, so, and this is a mindset, Adi, we need to come out of it. I'll tell you why. Because we suffered the same thing in Kargil. Pakistan had stingers, but narrative was that no, stingers were for Russians in Afghanistan. That whole when in that 80s era, that when Russia had occupied, I mean USSR had occupied Afghanistan, and they were intervention there, and they said no, Pakistan, stingers were there, but it so happened we learned to our bad luck that that cannot be the case. Similar story, we were wiser now when Amarants in the Balakot scenario, that we were careful of them, that they can be used against India, and at least our aircraft in Indian territory were kept safe from them. This time also, not that we did not cater for J10s or JF-17s or PL-15s or HQ-9s, for example. We probably catered for the numbers which were known through intelligence, through different things. Okay, these many batteries are there, this is where they are deployed, this is what the ranges are. And now during the conflict, if one was to be pumped in, with the equipment,
Which happened.
It happened. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So if during the conflict that was to happen, and in a quick time, then probably you are looking at a different thing. You probably got surprised. Fair enough. Okay. And I would like to think that this is somewhat the tactical mistake that he's referring to, because after all, your tactics went wrong. You employed some tactics that, okay, you will be safe here, and it did not prove to be right. What will you say? You will say, yeah, our tactics did not work out. We made some tactical mistakes, but we corrected it. Thereafter, we knew fully well that what is available, what can happen, what can come. And they say, now don't worry. Now we are okay. And we played our game wisely, and we came out victorious. I mean, this is, I hope it puts a serious statement in perspective.
It does, because on the 8th, 9th and 10th, there was air activity. This was an air war. पूरा लड़ाई तो आसमान में हुआ है.
Much greater activity, much greater aircraft in the air, much greater target addressal system, much more potent military target addressal system. You see, first day we addressed only those, whatever you call them, some buildings, or they are terrorist targets or whatever, but we thought they were okay. And I mean, through interports. Now we started targeting military targets. Now, how is it that for innocuous target addressing, they are able to shoot down your aircraft left, right, center, and when you're addressing the military targets, you're not able to take down even one aircraft? So it means something went right. Something was done right.
That's what I'm saying. So the next day, whatever happened, you not just countered their air defense and their this thing. उसके बाद आपने उसकी air defense के जितने भी चीजें, the networks that you gained the first day, you used that against him, programmed your drones, went in and destroyed the heck out of his air defense.
Absolutely.
Okay, and not just the Chinese ones. You went after the Chinese ones, the Americans ones, and we know right now Pakistan does not have air defense. नहीं है उसके पास.
So, yeah, coming to your, culmination of first question, that if we keep our eyes and ears open and prepare for the worst, we probably can, can get our act together. It is just that we should not assume anything. We should not remain in a kind of, optimistic bubble ke ye nahi ho sakta ya ye nahi. That is why my warning against playing down J35 in Pakistan. We should not make that mistake. We should prepare for it, whether we get MCA or whether we employ some other means.
Fantastic. I mean, this was really an eye opener. Trust me. You put things in a very different perspective. जो एक obviously common people like us, हमको इतना 2+2=4 करना नहीं आएगा. तो आपने एक बड़ा different सा perspective दिया है. I want to ask you just a small little question more, sir. आप Israel, Iran, I'm sure as an air warrior you're watching. Interesting. अंदर घुस के काम करते हैं, drones कर रहे हैं. They're using the drones on air defense. Fair enough. Where have we seen that before? Okay. Interesting. You can see a pattern between these, the Russian-Ukraine strike into Russia, what India did with Pakistan, and what Israel is doing with Iran. When you see this, what is the biggest lesson that you take up? Because Iran does not have an air force, right? And it is still put Israel under pressure. Iran has got hurt really badly. There's no question. But pressure तो फिर भी डाल दिया सर उसने. And even Israeli intelligence इस time पे बोल रही है कि साहब, these guys are not done. They've got enough more. So how does this, and if I may, if you can also add in the perspective of the interceptors, the numbers, which is being आज debate हो रहा है उसके ऊपर. US में, Israel में, do we have enough to sustain the Iranian onslaught or not? Because for a drone they fire the same thing. For a ballistic, they fire the same thing. They fire the same things for pretty much everything. So, how do you kind of
see? Again, I mean, I'm more of an operational man and not very good at geopolitics. But I think in this particular case, a little bit geopolitics also played out. Okay, in Israel's calculation. See what happened now. You see pattern. We are saying drones. Okay, a new pattern is emerging in drone application. They all know that it is difficult, and it is a lesson for us also, since you said lesson. And I mean, I would like the audience to listen carefully, that, it is known that drones may not survive in contested airspace. They can be intercepted. They cannot achieve much of a result. So you see the pattern which is emerging of drone application. Okay, what did they do? Mossad went in with the drones application much before, penetrated, right? And it penetrated, positioned those drones to be activated from close by. They actually, exfiltrated in time, because there are no reports of Iranians catching any of those agents. Okay, and they launched those drones from within Iranian territory to put down their S-300s and other air defense missile systems to create a corridor for aircraft to come. Okay. Now here I see a pattern. If you see that Ukraine attack inside Russia on trucks and things like that, that spiders. Okay. Yeah. So now if you've started importing drones into a country to take down these assets from within the country, it's a new paradigm altogether. I mean, this is the biggest lesson of any country. And this is where we need to be watchful. We need to be watchful what comes from where. If the borders are porous, a simple truck carrying something is not कि वो अनाज की बोरियां हैं तो उसको फिर बीच में चेक करने की जरूरत नहीं है, या जो भी है, या whenever trade opens, I'm saying, or anything else that comes, bits and pieces. Your SIM cards, we are fond of saying the Jamtara operations, 1,000 SIM cards log le lete hain, ye bank ki fraud calls, ye wo, etc. And people take it in a stride. I would say you need to keep a track of each and every electronic chip, every electronic SIM card, everything, because this is a weapon in itself now, yeah, and it can be used. Okay, so what happens is in Iran, Israel, they first, classically, what I kept saying earlier also, that you got to put down the air defense first if you want to survive. Now, Israel sent long-range aircraft. It's almost 1,500 to 2,000 kilometers is what we are talking of, and different countries in between. You got to cross Iraq, you got to, cross different. I mean, depending what route are you following, Saudi Arabia or Jordan or etc. etc. Now the thing is, these are okay countries, not worth challenging the might of Israel. They managed to send its aircraft and surface to air to surface weapons, which Israel has, that obviously has a limited range with respect to distance between Israel and Tehran, or the targets. So it obviously had to penetrate and launch it from within Tehran. And like you said, not much of an air defense, and Iran of course has not used any manned aircraft against Israel, but whole lot of ballistic missiles and Shahid drones and those Mohajir 6 or etc. But now what happens is, this number of ballistic missiles, now if they are not running out of it, if they are not getting tired of it, I don't know whether Israel calculated for this kind of thing, because now also if you see Mr. Trump's statement that I'll take 2 weeks to decide whether to get in or not to get in. Now I don't know whether this was some kind of tacit understanding, because now it is a given that Israel informed US that it is going to attack Iran. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind, because there is a CBS News report of 12th June which said, and it shows President Trump standing on stage and saying that we have told our people to evacuate from there. Non-essential military persons were evacuated from Iraq. Okay, because it anticipated that Iran could be targeting American bases in Iraq. Okay, and it told people that you evacuate from there, and Israel may attack soon. So if that was the tacit understanding, I don't know whether USA somehow gave assurance to Israel that, okay, you start the thing, and then our GBU-57, the famous bomb, okay, that GBU-57 is a very, very potent bomb. If you want, we can talk about it a little bit. But what happens is, it thought that it will do that Fordo place, where the underground nuclear facility is there, and it will just go and blast it off, and the whole aim would be achieved, because the idea was to destroy Iran's nuclear facility. That SPDN, or it's a Persian thing which says for defensive R&D, some place it translates to that we will just destroy that place, or underground facilities, because no other weapon probably can destroy. But now that is not happening, and it is Israel is having to hold on its own, and it's costing a lot. I believe millions of dollars, whether you call of Iron Dome system or David Sling or Arrow missiles, they are costly. And Harop system, keeping Heron TP in the air, your other Sky Strikers, etc., the missiles that we are talking of, okay, the spice bombs, Rampage, rocks, etc., everything is costly. Okay, and same thing you're pounding again, and now you have to defend your small country, and your everything is concentrated, you see. All your facilities, all your offices, all your wherewithal is only within a small distance. The gravity is a hell of a lot. So now they're trying to intercept, and as the reports say, that most of the missiles, ballistic missiles, have been intercepted, but whichever falls, it does create a lot of damage. And if there are a hell of a lot of them, then they will continue to do damage. So now I don't know how what is going to, I mean, people making joke out of it. Is it a trick or taco? You heard of this headline, trick or taco?
Trump always chickens out.
Chicken out. Okay, so they say, is it tricking Iran into believing something, lowering its guard? Okay, oh no, America is not going to come. America is not going to come. You can take it easy, and then strike at the right time. Or it is just going to be that another trade scenario, that you put a huge threat, and then you water it down, etc. The only time will tell. But yes, Israel decided to take this plunge. I'm sure it would have done its calculation, and if it has made the mistake of totally depending on something, and if that help does not come, then you got to be astrologer to really predict future, But I think it's going to be difficult. It can put Israel under pressure, and I'm sure at the right time something will happen. This GBU 57 is a very, very potent weapon. 30,000 pound it weighs, 2,400 kg almost warhead, and and it can only be carried on B2. That Spirit stealth bomber. Okay,
B2 or
and
B50? B52 also it can go, sir, but B52 has challenges carrying this thing.
yeah,
In the sense,
so a heavy aircraft. I mean, but
this thing
the
has to be carried outside the aircraft, so it creates a
outside.
lot of challenge for it.
Yeah. No, not only detection challenges. You know why? I mean, it has to be used on stealth aircraft. That is one, because the range, it is purely ballistic. It is, roughly its range will be whatever is the height of the aircraft. So if you launch it from 10 kilometers, all it will go is 10 kilometers. So the aircraft has to penetrate into very close to the target. Little bit of glide capability it may have, but not like glide bombs have, or they can go hundreds of kilometers. Not like something like other extended range glide weapons. Okay, but now the fact is that this particular guy can penetrate 200 feet of concrete, 60 meters of concrete. Okay, there are, and it has got a delayed fuse that it will enter some distance by sheer weight. Can you imagine the kinetic energy? It will accelerate close to Mach 1, and when it will hit something that kind of massive weight and penetrate, and then the fuse will blow out, it will just create a lot of issue. But they are still not sure whether this will succeed. So then you have those earth penetrators, nuclear penetrators. You have a nuclear weapon because you need a hell of a lot of energy which penetrates the earth. But in this particular facility, I believe, I mean, there are reports that they may not also work. So talking about Iran, Israel, again, the classically, if you do things right to begin with, you take down the air defense, you suppress the air defense, and you send your waves and offensive aircraft, they will succeed. But yes, retaliation, surface to surface missiles now, with these ballistic missiles or other missiles, that Fatah one, people are calling it hypersonic missile, but and they will say it hypersonic ballistic missile in the same breath. So hypersonic has got a different connotation, but yes, it has got a speed more than Mach 5, and most of the ballistic missiles go hypersonic, so to say. Okay, so from that point of view,
In the
1400
terminal
kilometers.
phase, yeah. आपने समझाया
I
था
mean,
in the terminal phase,
yeah. So what happens is it leaves atmosphere. Exo-atmospheric missiles, they can go and come back from very high up, gain hell of a lot of speed, but then they are ballistic.
yeah.
To begin with. Okay, so that is that about Iran, Israel. I think we've got a lot
Sorry,
of ground here.
I snickered a little bit because of this one comment. Agassia, he says hypersonic ballistic is like center of gravity.
Yeah.
एयर मार्शल
Yeah.
हमारे जो थे ना, क्या नाम है उनका, एयर मार्शल क्या था यार उसका नाम, that dumb Pakistani air marshal, Aurangzeb.
No, Acha AVM, that person, who was doing briefing. No, I mean, I would again say, I granted that he had a job to do. He had to do briefing. There was media, and I mean, let's leave it at that. Grant, we analyze the briefing to our understanding. So he was doing his job. We did our job.
You're being very nice, sir, and very kind,
No,
just
no,
like a
no,
gentleman officer. But a guy who says surface to air missile is very technical for me to explain. I wonder who flies their aircraft. ये तो truck driver है sir. ये fighter pilot नहीं है. कौन उड़ाते हैं इनके जहाज? I think the Chinese or the Americans, every time they come here, यार तुम फिर से पंगे लेके बैठे हो, okay, I'll come. Because look at the way the guy was explaining, and look at our air marshal. Look at yourself. I mean, who's explained this stuff? I'll show you the comments, and you'll see the difference. Sir, people see this. I'm not joking. People see this when they look at a Pakistani air marshal, and center of gravity and surface to air is very complicated. Okay. And हमारे Air
Your
Marshal
audience
भारती
is
साहब हमारे Air Marshal
your
भारती साहब
audience.
वहां पर आते हैं and एक टेढ़ी सी स्माइल मारते हैं, भैंस की half the world is wondering what the hell did he say. समझ नहीं आया किसी को हुआ क्या. You know, and see, that's the thing. That's the difference we see.
No, your audience is intelligent, Adi. Maybe he didn't have that intelligent audience sitting there. So that's why we are able to explain it better than he could.
अब देखो इसको भी क्या बोलते हैं ना, सर ने पोलाइटली पूरे पाकिस्तान को डरा कर दिया.
No, seriously.
Just joking, sir. Right, guys, let's please like the video. This was a very, very. आपने, you know, you again for the second time in Operation Sindoor, you have actually brought about a very different perspective. Thank you so much, sir. मैं तभी तंग करता रहता हूँ आपको, सर. आओ आओ बात करेंगे. Very, very different perspective. And guys, please like, subscribe, and share, and tell people that here is another perspective of the air war. सुनो इसको, समझ में आएगा क्या है. And what did CDS actually say? What was his meaning? What is the military meaning? वो politics को छोड़ दीजिए आप. Let's understand why and what he said. You know, and that's very, very critical. And coming from somebody who's been in the Air Force, it means a lot. And of course, guys, request everybody, if you can, please contribute towards the channel. QR code, PayPal, super stickers, super chats. And yeah, you can see the Dev Talk logo. There's loads of t-shirts there, cups, mugs, and some bags and stuff like that. New stuff in the store. So please check that out as well. Let's go and take some questions. Okay, here we go. Abhishek ji, thank you. Can India convert all airworthy MiG-21s and other such old platforms into UCAVs as an addition to drone force? It's happening, right, sir? Kiran and
yeah, Kiran or some platforms. You know, I would say that the MiG-21 platforms, you know, which we slowly, like, you know, we did not leave these aircraft. I mean, we utilized them to very last. Okay. And now what happens is their airworthiness, UAV, you can convert it, but I think it may be, you know, better to build a new UAV for the task rather than do conversion. But if they can be converted, then yes, they will do it. But, you know, like, you look at its speed. You cannot change the basic characteristics of this aircraft. It will need that kind of engine which can take it. Otherwise, it will not sustain in the air. Let's say MiG-21, if it has to get airborne, it will still get airborne only at that speed. No, you have just taken out the pilot. Rest, everything is almost the same.
How about a one-time?
No, it will get airborne. What I'm saying, your engine, etc. Probably you have to see that you have to get it up in the air. No, then it has to fly that long. Okay, then kamikaze role is what you are looking at. Okay, but what happens is, let's say, to make this aircraft, to convert this aircraft into a UAV, a kamikaze UAV, what do I need to invest? I mean, is that worth it, or can I have a cheaper and better option rather than, you know, investing time and money into this particular thing? Okay,
absolutely.
That is the payoff which people will have to decide. As a concept, yes, I mean, you know, F-16 is being converted into in Mumty role, you know, that way, and you can do that. But tomorrow in the Mumty role, if it has to be done and with some modification, why this aircraft? Tomorrow we may be retiring some other aircraft and they can be used in that role. That will always happen.
So Vani, thank you so much for gifting a membership. Akshay ji, thank you. Is it possible for you to give me some hint on what IAF is doing to get the details from the gift at Trivandrum Airport? That has created a whole controversy, and I know you won't be able to speak on it, sir, but that's fine. Whatever you can say.
There is nothing. No. What happened is, what details? This F-35, it's not that I saw it in the UK. It was there in the RF in BA system, you know, when it was being developed. So it is not that nothing. I mean, it was kept under this thing or wrap, or you're doing exercises. But why did it land up in Trivandrum? We were doing exercise with you know, with the Prince of Wales is a carrier from where it got airborne, right? Some issue, this thing, and it landed there. Now, yes, their supply chain, you know, why is it taking for them to get it, you know, going so fast? That is a different game altogether. But what IF is going to get details means they are not going to allow you to strip it open or something, etc. That is not done. Okay, but around that, I mean, you know, they can observe it, they can see how it is made. I don't know whether it helps in some kind of designing for AMCA. people must have done their job, if they have to do. But otherwise, not that you can't get to see this aircraft, or it was something under veil and only now we have seen it. Aisa nahi hai. So I think it's more of a
Why are the Brits
recreational
acting so
value.
weird? Sir?
Sorry?
Why are the Brits acting so weird? No, don't keep it in a hangar.
I mean, that's okay. They can, because I'll tell you, they must be watching what's happening around it. So you put it under a shelter or somewhere, then you can't know kya ho raha hai, probably.
There's a huge controversy about how did it get detected. So, and anyways, I'm not going to force you to answer that. So let it be. So it's okay.
No. Yeah. You see, what happened is that IACCC system. Everybody will say that. Okay, I don't know whether it is Air Force issued statement. What did Air Force say? Air Force said, no. Air Force said, when someone asked, let me put it in perspective again. We know what radars we have. What is it now? What happens is, when Air Force said that, okay, this F-35 developed an emergency. It was helped to land here. It was detected on our IACCC system, and it was guided to land at this place. Okay, now you can sensationalize it. All these aircraft now, Aadi, what happens is they carry I don't know whether this aircraft was carrying or not, a Lune-Bug lens, because let's say if no one ever can see them, then what exercise are you going to do with them? You cannot learn lessons. Let's say if I have to learn how to maneuver against F-35, and then I need to know where is it. Uske liye na, training ke liye they put a Lune-Bug lens, which increases the radar cross section many times, easy to detect, etc. And similarly, in non-combat exercises or training exercises or etc., they do use this kind of thing. Otherwise, there was a case in the UK where this aircraft had got lost, and it took them days to detect them, that where had it gone. That aircraft continued to fly for some time. Radar was not able to keep track of it, and I had put a LinkedIn post that F-35 needs that iPhone mein hota na, jaise find my phone. Okay, so F-35 needs find me or some feature like that. Okay, that which can be activated. Yeah, because actually they couldn't keep track of. So I mean, it's not for nothing that it has capability, and it was detected because it wanted to be detected. It needed help. Now, if it needs help and doesn't get detected, then how the hell is one going to help? So it's a mixed kind of thing.
But there are technologies which today saying that you can, not like clearly detect, but you can kind of detect where is a stealth aircraft going.
Yeah. No, you can probably tomorrow. I mean, you'll have quantum radars coming up. They will just defeat stealth.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but that's still futuristic, I would say. See, Aadi, whatever you do, you cannot defeat laws of physics, right? Radar works on a principle. It's law of physics. RF ray has to go strike and come back to the originator for you to know what is where. If the aircraft employs something, which does not allow that RF ray to come back to you, you will not know where is it. You will need to employ some other means. Like I said, you may have electro-optical tracker, you may have IRST, okay? So, etc. But while to tick the box, you will say that, yes, I can detect a stealth aircraft by these means because I will demonstrate so. But can I detect it at the same range where radar can detect it? Probably questionable.
All right. Avinash, thank you so much. Sanket, thank you. Satyam, S400 Uttam radar detects stealth. We just discussed this. Thank you so much. Dr. Saab, thank you. Marshal Bedi's talks are educated. A technologist delights. My compliments.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Raj.
Manjari, thank you. So wonderful to hear the Air Marshal again. Showering compliments, sir. Viniji, thank you. Can India leverage its expertise in MIRVs and hypersonics and DVRAMs to develop a next generation MIRV based hypersonic DVRAM capable and targeting neutralizing 5th gen fighter jets?
The hypersonic missiles do not intercept fighter aircraft. They are meant for different purpose. They are generally surface target weapons, right? Now, MIRV, maneuverable, independent, targeted re-entry vehicle. Okay, they have been there for some time, and technology keeps on improving. How they maneuver, how much can they maneuver, etc., etc., is what is improving. Okay. India is working on hypersonic technology, and when we talked about it, the DRDO is making good progress in that. We have done the airborne test for 20 seconds, and I believe it's documented now that they have done ground test for 200 seconds of scramjet operation,
Yeah.
and in, maybe reaching higher figures. So, moment we come out of, we master this scramjet operation, and then rest of the things will fall in place, and we will definitely have hypersonic technology. And then the very essence of hypersonic cruise missile is that it is maneuverable, much more maneuverable than MIRV, etc. So we probably will have capability, but we need to retain focus on that.
So, Kaushik ji, thank you. Pakistan getting DF-17 hypersonic. If top leadership is targeted, do we have a defense for it?
No, I don't think so. It would work like that. Pakistan getting DF-17 hypersonic, like we just said, they will get JF-17. I mean, sorry, J35. They may get this hypersonic missile. Hypersonic missile is dicey, is definitely, but I don't think it will be it will be used for that kind of target. Well, anything is possible, but we will have there are technologies. When we come to countering hypersonic missiles, there are DWs. Your directed energy weapons will come into play. We need to work on that. Okay, we are not very good at that as of now, but as the technology develops, we are people are paying attention to that. So those are the kind of defenses which will need that. And when we are talking of leadership, etc., I'm sure there are many other ways to keep them safe from these things.
Dr. Saab, once again, thank you. He says, what is the effect of airfield destruction on their air force? How do you think they will counter, and how long will it take? What will you do?
Airfield destruction is is bad for any air force, because that is from where you undertake operations. Now, airfield, generally a runway, depending on the altitude, etc., standard runway is anywhere between 3 to 3.5 kilometers long. Okay. And it is meant for a purpose that a heavily laden aircraft, will take not full length to take off, but it will definitely take good amount of length to land. And if you are, full fuel, full, what do you call, arsenal, and some emergency develops and you have to abort takeoff, then you need that length of runway, etc., etc. So whole length of runway is essentially meant for all these emergency kind of operations, but it's not that for operations you always need the complete runway availability. So that is why when you destroy airfield, when you said that one airfield is available and one is not, it depends how many places and where have you targeted them. Let's say I target one lane of a runway. Okay, the aircraft can take off from the other lane also. Okay, or if I not made the craters at good intervals, one from the other, and allowed critical length to be available to the aircraft, there are ways that I can take off with very little fuel, only the weapons, and get refueled in the air, and still use the airfield. So now what happens is, when you need to destroy airfield, it's a very, very tedious, complex calculation that what are the places I need to target, how many DMPIs must be hit, where all they must be hit, then do I have that kind of precision available, and if one weapon misses, then how many weapons I need at that place, etc., etc. So that is why these kamikaze kind of thing, like Herops, for example, and I'm not saying they will create crater on the runway, but they can always delay their coming up. You imagine that some crater has been made on the runway, and now there are people coming to repair it. It won't get repaired automatically. You'll need manpower to repair it. And now if this small aircraft, these small drones, small, these Harap kind of things were coming and, disturbing you every now and then, you would demoralize people to come and repair that place. You will need total peace. You can't quickly do it in the daytime. I mean, just as a tactics. So importance of destruction of an airfield is great, because the whole counter air operations is meant against that. And if there were 20 aircraft or 40 aircraft stuck out an airfield, you have de facto neutralized those aircraft for that much period of time, because you can't fly them out. And now if your next wave was to target these aircraft which are stranded on the airfield, it's totally, I mean, we saw what happened in Russia. Okay, the aircraft on the ground are so vulnerable.
Gives me
So you got to guard your airfields. You got to defend your airfield. I mean, the bottom line is you must have very, very potent air defense to defend your airfields.
All right. Jairatji, thank you. Why didn't we put Amka Aerospace under PMO like ISRO? It's happening, sir. Finally.
Yeah. And let's see it. The organizations may be different, but these kind of critical projects are being monitored at a very highest level. Even DRDO, does regular briefings to PMO. I mean, structurally, when you see the organizational tree, it may not be there, but it's not that it's not being monitored by PM.
So, सर सीडीएस जो बोले उसको लेके पाकिस्तान में सेलिब्रेशन हुआ यार। पाकिस्तान तो यार अपने रनवे ठुकवाने के बाद भी नाच रहे थे। अपने जर्नैल को फील्ड मार्शल बना दिया वहां पर, सॉरी फील्ड नहीं, खेत मार्शल बना दिया उसने। बट चलो ठीक है, whatever makes him happy. Thondupji, thank you. Air Marshal GS Bedi is not taking any pleasure in belittling the Pakistani Air Force, just shows the difference. Jai Hind.
Thank you.
यही होता है, पता है हमारे ना सर विल बिलीव इन रहीम यार खान में जो करा है ना, वो सर की लैंग्वेज है, वो छोड़ दो बाकी। Swarandeep ji, thank you. Namaste, sir ji. Just turning off our own fighters' radar make them harder to detect, and do our flankers have IRST or electro-optical options so that enemy can still be engaged? Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
No, you see, turning off fighter aircraft radar definitely will keep it in the passive mode, and that is how it's generally done. What happens is when you have AVACs, when you have other sensors, you have ground system, we talked of IACCC, etc. So these are the places, these are the people who control you. Fighter aircraft do not generally switch on their radar unless it's very, very required, or where you do not have other sensors available. Okay. This kind of technology, I think it will be there in our 5th generation aircraft, but I don't think so as of now, it exists. I mean, F-35 has it, but it will come.
Right, sorry, this one we've taken. My apologies. Neeraj ji, thank you. Feeling so bad for Israel. Can't depend on anyone. Atmanirbhar Bharat. Simple is the answer, and Operation Sindoor is the clearest example for it. Mohit ji, thank you so much. Sivani, thank you. She says, what about quantum breakthrough by the DRDO?
DRDO is working on quantum technologies, on different quantum technologies, very, very nascent stage. We have National Quantum Mission, which 6,000 crores allocated, but they are working on very, very different technologies. Nothing much as of now, but effort is on. Various committees are being made. I am myself involved in various briefings and seminars, or certain companies working on quantum, they keep asking for advice. But whole thing is, we are talking of quantum key distribution, we are talking of otherwise quantum safe communication, some post-quantum cryptography, etc. But quantum radars, what happens is very critical. I mean, classically, now this is a good question, that what is the first thing? 2 technologies will be in the forefront in quantum, from operational point of view: quantum radar and quantum navigation. Why quantum navigation is important? Any inertial navigation system, basically how it works is, you have acceleration. Okay, you have an accelerometer. It's a simple thing. पेंडुलम आपने देखा है, अगर वो ऐसे लटक रहा है, तो अगर हाथ में ऐसे मूव करूं तो पीछे रह जाएगा ना पेंडुलम, like it lags, and the faster I move, more it will lag. Correct? So there is an acceleration sensing mechanism which senses acceleration of aircraft in any direction. Now, when you integrate acceleration, with respect to time, it gives you velocity. And if you integrate velocity further with respect to time, it will give you distance. Distance differentiated twice will give you acceleration. Acceleration integrated twice will give you displacement. So now if I'm able to measure displacement, that how much I moved in which direction, I will always know my position, right? This is how inertial navigation system works. But the problem with the normal inertial navigation system is their accelerometers, their timings, their etc. is not very accurate. So they suffer from errors. That is why you need GPS guidance. You must have heard the expression INS GPS guided. All the, you take our Spice, you take BrahMos, you take anything, it's INS GPS. So it has got inertial navigation, but it needs to be constantly updated by GPS system. INS will think I am here. It has to be told, no, you're not here, you're there. So it now updates itself. Okay. With quantum navigation, these accelerometers and these gyroscopes will become extremely accurate, will be able to measure the distances or displacement very accurately. And you can then operate in GPS denied environment. Even if GPS I'm using as a journal, any GNSS system, it could be Bedi, it could be, Navic, it could be anything. So if this was going to be denied to you, you can still go. But having said that, R&D is still a bit far away, but work is on. I just wanted to explain the concept, so I took time.
Pratik ji, thank you so much. You say always a pleasure listening. आदि भाई वो F-35 कितने में मिलेगा यार? वो $100 million पे लगाया हुआ है, OLX पे जाके खरीद लो. I'm not kidding. I am not kidding, sir. Somebody put it on OLX.
Yeah. And going by the name Mr. Pratik Agarwal, he must be very senior, serious about it, going by just the surname.
हाँ जी, खरीद लो फटाफट. We should have one. All right, Karan Oja ji, thank you. Is it possible to detect the F-35 with biostatic radar? Secondly, you said that hypersonic missiles are only meant for surface option, but Russia is offering the R-37, which is air-to-air.
You see, what happens is, like I said, you got to differentiate between a missile type. They are loosely used. Something which goes at hypersonic speed. We are talking of hypersonic cruise missile essentially. These air-to-air missiles also, like we say PL-15 is Mark 4. Now, let's say if you were to have an air-to-air missile which goes at Mark 6, then people will say this is hypersonic missile. Oh, definitely. A missile which can go more than Mark 5 will be called hypersonic missile. But its characteristics is for air-to-air interception. Okay, the missiles hypersonic which we talked about, they are hypersonic cruise missiles, which have a scramjet engine of its own. Okay, so they're different ball game. Okay, and biostatic radar, yes, you can, generally stealth aircraft can be detected by low frequency radars. VHF radar they used to employ, but only thing is they suffer from lesser range. But if you have over the horizon radar capability, then probably you can, you can employ these kind of tactics. But you see what happens is, now we are reinventing the wheel. All the modern radars were, an improvement over the existing radars, over VHF radar or over S-band radar or over this thing. We are moving into KU band, Ka band, etc., because they provide you a different kind of advantage. But yes, you need to go back to basics sometimes when you have to solve a very basic problem, right? Yeah. So from that point of view, like I said, by laws of physics, yes, you can. But how much is going to be the operational capability, added to that is a different thing to see. Because you just see, just to add a line, if it was so easy, then people won't really venture into making stealth aircraft. This says, yeah, VHF radar detect kar lega. Yes, you can detect, but under very different circumstances. Yes, please.
Sanjay ji, thank you so much. Thank you. B2 loss could severely shake the US confidence, impact Israel's standing, and become a pivotal Soviet-Afghan style turning point for them. Yeah, well.
Yeah, if they do, yes, but I think that is why when they get in, they will make sure that this does not happen.
Sure. MPCG, thank you. He says, sir, can a slow-moving decoy drone be fitted with booster rockets and make their AD misclassified due to speed and waste expensive interceptors?
There are decoys. You can turn anything into decoy. You can do that slow moving, and then you give it speed and give it some kind of radar thing, like Dalila missile of Israel. It mimics an aircraft. Yeah. Okay, so like that, you can have anything mimicking an aircraft if you can do. And drones, when we are talking of Aadi, let me make a point. that we have seen ke drones ye kar sakte hain, drone wo kar sakte hain. I just have one point to make. What is the characteristics of drone overwhelming air defense? By itself, when you say swarm drones, ye launch kar diya, air defense ko overwhelm kar diya. So unless you have large number of drones, you are not utilizing the basic characteristics of drone, what it is supposed to be. Like if chut put 1 launch kar diye, 10 launch kar diye, फिर 15 launch kar diye, तो वो क्या है कि they may not give you that kind of result. So if you are tomorrow going for a drone warfare, etc., you need to have large number of drone making capability, which India needs to garner, very, very quickly, that your production capability should be hell.
Absolutely correct. And as a matter of fact, guys, you would remember the show 2 weeks ago where I started talking about a drone force with almost 2 million drones minimum आपके पास होने चाहिए. And you should have a production capacity of about 1 million a month.
Yeah. You see all these radars, when you see it can, detect so many, every radar, ESA radar or any radar, can probably detect 100 targets or 150 targets, but can track only so many. It cannot track all the 150 targets to launch weapons. So what happens is, when you read carefully, that radar capability will tell you can detect 200 targets but track 15 or track 12 or track 16. So now if you want to overwhelm enemy defenses by drones, then you need a hell of a lot of drones. बहुत सारे, it's mango season, Aadi, I can't help but remember one quip of Ghalib Saab. उनको किसी ने पूछा था, Ghalib Saab, आम कैसे हों? उन्होंने जवाब दिया, कहते बहुत मीठे हों और बहुत सारे हों. You need too many of them. एक तो they should be very sweet and there should be large number of them, for you to get a real taste of it and satisfy yourself. Okay, similar thing for the drone, I tell you. There should be good quality and there should be large number.
Yeah. What is the possibility of Indian Air Force requirements being met in a timely basis to cater upcoming operations? What solution do you see?
The probability of Indian Air Force meeting its requirement, I think a lot is being said. The Air Chief himself is on record, saying that we need capabilities fast and it needs to come fast. So when it is being said at that level and not really contested by the government, then I think everyone is in sync and people will have to play ball. So things will probably change. And you must have heard in the news, they are even working on DAP, Defense Acquisition Procedure 25. They say we are reducing timeline, we are doing this, which gives me another point that, something seriously needs to be done, because while we should be focusing on now manufacturing and, producing things quickly, we are still embroiled in procedures. I mean, we still don't have our procedures very friendly, which is a little sad state of affairs. We need to get that right, that it becomes industry friendly, it becomes, entrepreneur friendly, and it becomes ecosystem friendly, that somebody has some good thing, he should be encouraged, and you don't get into too much of red tapeism. So hopefully things will look up.
And last one, sir, Talk Super Tank, thank you so much. He says, can a decoy drone be converted into a kamikaze as well? If Aadi hits it, thank you. If it misses, thank you very much. Pakistan can brag, win-win.
No, so any drone, I mean, decoy drone can be converted into kamikaze. You see, there both features can be employed in a drone. Let's say, even if I have a kamikaze drone, or controlled drone, I would say, I can always have a come back home feature. I launch someone, it doesn't find a very good target. Let's say, I don't waste it. I said, okay, come back home. Okay, I find a very good target, I launch it. So it depends on what kind of capability you give it to this drone.
Sir, thank you so much for a wonderful discussion. I think आपने काफी सारे दिमाग की बत्ती जला दी है हमारे सबकी, and this is going to go a long way. The second time you've done that to us post operation, so trust me, it's a huge difference, sir. Huge
Thank
difference.
you.
Thank you so very much.
It was a pleasure talking to you.
And guys, please like the video, subscribe, and of course just leave your comments. See you next time. Namaskar. Jai Hind.
Thank you.